Namaskar everybody and welcome to our Srimad Ramayanam Satsanga. So with yesterday the Dhanurmasa has got over and today is the auspicious occasion of Sankranti, Makara Sankranti and Pongal. So best wishes to all of you on this auspicious occasion. And today we will see one very important point in our Ramayana story. It is the turning point from where the Lord is going to start his mission now. So welcome to this today's Satsang. लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुग्म व्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारी परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसि जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदप्राचेतसादासीद् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना So with prayers at the lotus feet of Sri Ramachandra and the Acharyas, let us take up today's topic. So we saw in yesterday's satsang how Lakshmana built a beautiful ashrama and Rama was very happy with him, and then they started living in that ashrama, and the environment was very nice. That whole area itself is very beautiful and picturesque, and they used to have a good stay there. Now, one fine day, what happened is early in the morning, by around the time of sunrise, little after that, when Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana were going to the Godavari river for having their bath, it was a winter season. At that time, while they were walking and going to the river, by chance, Lakshmana says that it is so cold here. They are on the banks of Godavari river, which is the south of India, isn't it? So there the temperatures are not so extreme always. So here only it is so cold. I can't imagine how cold it must be in Ayodhya, the Sharayu river. And poor Bharata, he is so Sukumara, he's such a delicate person. And how he will be managing, how will he be bathing in that cold water, in that frozen, chilled water of the Sharayu? And that too, Bharata is going and taking bath early in the morning at 2 o'clock, even before, 2 o'clock is what, middle of the night. So that early he is bathing, it must be so cold. I wonder how he is managing it. And then while talking about Bharata, then Lakshmana happens to mention that this is all because of Kaikeyi, and he starts to again blame Kaikeyi. At that point, Rama stops him and says, "Don't talk about Kaikeyi. Don't talk about our middle mother like that. So it is not correct of us to criticize her actions. All that is over. But you tell me about Bharata. Tell about Bharata like that." And that conversation, then Lakshmana talks about Bharata, and then after some time, however, Lakshmana decides that it is time he should stop talking about Bharata. Why? The Acharyas tell us. That we will see later. So, like this, the life is just going by in that. And then one fine day, what happens is, as the three of them are sitting outside the ashrama and they are just having their normal conversation, there is one Rakshasi who appears there. Who is this? We all know. She is Shurpanaka. She is a horrible Rakshasi. In fact, she is so ugly in appearance, and her mannerisms are also so bad that Valmiki introduces her by contrasting her appearance with that of Rama. So he writes that, like, he's describing, she's a Rakshasi who has come there, but the minute she sees Rama, she's so taken aback, she's so charmed by his handsome countenance that she feels that, oh, this is such a beautiful handsome person, how come he is here? We know, isn't it, it is told that Rama is having all the Samudrika Lakshana, which are the attributes which any person should have, and which tell that they are really very beautiful, they are very handsome, and they are good looking in appearance. So this Shurpanaka is taken away, carried away by that beauty of Rama, and immediately she has a very strong lustful desire in her heart. So when she appears there, just to show us how grossly they are mismatched, Valmiki Rishi says these shlokas where he is describing. So he says, Sumukham Durmukhi Ramam Vritta Madhyama Mahodari. So this Rakshasi, okay, she's unpleasant. Her face is Durmukhi, she's not having a good face at all. And what is Rama's face? It is Sumukha. It is a very pleasant face, right? Then what about the middle part, the waist? This Rakshasi is pot bellied. She has a big, huge stomach, and therefore that waist is very large. Whereas, what about Rama? He has a slim waist. Then he says, Vishalaksham Virupakshi. So, this Rakshasi's eyes are very ugly and small and tiny. And what about Rama's eyes? They are broad and nice. What about the hair? Sukesham. Rama has very beautiful hair. Whereas this Rakshasi's hair is Tamra Murdhaja. Like it is looking the color of copper, brownish color it is. And it is very dry and brittle and not at all good. Then Priya Rupam Virupasa. So then he says this Rakshasi has very ugly features, whereas Rama's features are very charming. Then her voice is like very hoarse, but Rama's voice is so gentle. This Rakshasi is actually very old, whereas Rama is so young. She is not able to talk properly, but he is a very pleasant talker. She is the one who doesn't have good manners. She is ill mannered, whereas he is so well mannered. Like this, he describes the contrast between Shurpanaka and Rama. Why is it that he's telling that? Because the Acharyas here say that in any kind of a kavya, in any great work of art which is done, there has to be all these different rasas which are there in it. There will be some joy, there will be some sorrow, there will be some anger, and so on. And like that, there has to be something for comic relief also. So that hasya rasa, that humorous nature has to be introduced. So through this description of Shurpanaka, Valmiki is giving that hasya rasa to those who are reading and hearing of this Ramayana. Now, although she is so grossly mismatched with Rama, she cannot help. She's taken away with his appearance, and she feels she has a strong infatuation for him, and she's totally carried away by lust. And she talks to Rama then, and she says, "Who are you? You're such a beautiful person. Who are you? Why are you here?" And like that, she asks. Now, in Valmiki Ramayana, it is told that she appeared in her original form. Okay, although Valmiki does say he calls her Kamarupini, so she can take whatever form she wants to, like that. In Kamba Ramayana, Kambar actually says that although she was a Rakshasi and very ugly, she took on a form because she could change her form. She took on a form of a very beautiful woman and came towards Rama. Right? So, whatever it may be, she is now asking Rama that, who are you? And so on. Now, she is a Rakshasi and she's so bad mannered and uncouth. And Rama need not give any respect to her. But Rama, with his straightforward nature and honest nature, he starts telling her everything about them right from Dasharatha's time. He says there was a king called Dasharatha in Ayodhya and he didn't have children for many years. Then he did Putra Kameshti Yaga. Then he got 4 children. Then what happened next? That I got married to Sita. I'm the elder son. I got married to Sita. All that he tells, and how the kingdom was taken away, how he has come for Vanavasa, and now how they are sitting here. Until this point, right from the time of Raja Dasharatha till this moment, he narrates everything to her in a very straightforward manner. Then he asks her, "Who are you? Why are you roaming around here in this forest like this?" So then she says, "I am the sister of Ravana. I am the sister of Vibhishana and Kumbhakarna. And I am also the sister of Kharadushana." So then after telling all this, she suddenly starts expressing her desire for Rama. She says, "Why you are with this woman? She is not having any beauty. She is not at all this thing. You come with me. We will enjoy nicely. We can roam around in the forest everywhere and we can have a very good time and we will enjoy nicely. You come with me." Like that, she starts telling him. So Rama laughs and he says, "See, she is there. My wife is there with me. So it is wrong of you to ask me for such things." And then just to make fun, he points to Lakshmana and he says, "See, this is my brother Lakshmana, and he's also very good looking and he's also a very good person. And right now, his wife is not with him." In some places, they tell that Rama said he is not married. He didn't say he is not married. Actually, the way the Sanskrit words he uses, they can be construed to mean either thing. That is why some people confuse it and say that Rama told Lakshmana is not married. How can Rama tell Lakshmana is not married? What he meant is that his wife right now is not with him. So why don't you approach him, says Rama. So this Shurpanaka suddenly now she notices, oh Lakshmana, oh he is also good looking. And at least Rama is dark, but Lakshmana is fair and nice and red, and he is also looking very nice. So she suddenly transfers her attentions now to Lakshmana, and she goes near him. Then Lakshmana laughs and he says, what is this? What do you think you will get by being with me? I am, after all, a dasa of this Rama. I am his servant. So if you come with me, then you are going to be servant's wife, right? So in what way? There will be no enjoyment for you. You will also have to only serve these two people. There is no enjoyment going to be there for you. All the time I am serving them. You will also have to come and join me in serving them only. What is the use of it? Instead, you go back to Rama only. He is the Swami. You can go and be with him, says Lakshmana. Now she goes back to Rama. Then Rama says, no, no, how can I have two wives? I cannot have anything like that, and so on. So now finally, Shurpankhar gets angry. She realizes that they are pulling my leg. She feels very insulted. And then in that mood, she says, okay, oh Rama, you are telling that you don't want to come with me because you have this wife already, no? I will make sure that she is destroyed. I will eat her up right now. And she jumps to go towards Sita. At that moment, Rama realizes that this has gone too far. So he indicates to Lakshmana by just his gaze, by his glance, and Lakshmana understands what it is that has to be done. He takes up his sword and he just cuts off the nose and ears of this Shurpanaka. The minute the nose and ears are cut off, she starts screaming and howling in pain, and then she shouts at them and she's very angry with them, and she tells them, you think you have done something very good, but beware, this is the moment that now your life is going to become a really big problem for you. I will make sure that I am avenged. I will not let this insult go unpunished, and I will make sure your life is going to turn into hell from this moment, she says. And shouting and screaming like that, she runs through the forest, and she runs to this place called Janasthana, where her brothers, those Khara and Dushana, are stationed. So she goes there and she complains to them. What she complains, what happens next, we will see in the next section. But this place where all this occurred, this Panchavati area, the place where Lakshmana cut off her nose and ears, that is what we know in today's times as the place called Nasik. Nasika means nose in Sanskrit. So the place where Shurpanaka's nose was cut off is called even today as Nasik. It's in Maharashtra right now. Okay, so we've seen these events, right? What is it that is the message for us here? So Acharyas explained that at that point, when they were talking about Bharata getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going to Sharayu, right? Why was Bharata bathing at 2 a.m.? And how is it that he was able to bear that cold? At least this, see, all of them had spent time in the Gurukula with Vasishta Rishi. That was fine. But that time their life was not so difficult. Later, when Rama and Lakshmana went with Vishwamitra Rishi, they were used to all the difficulties of living in the forest. So they are used to that. But Bharata has never been used to that. He has always been in comforts. Then how is it that he was managing all this? And more importantly, why he was bathing at 2 a.m.? So the Acharyas explain that although everybody had proved and everybody had believed that Bharata was not responsible for Rama's Vanavasa, still there were people in Ayodhya, in that area around. Now, he was not in Ayodhya proper, he was in Nandigram. But even there were people, in spite of seeing all his sacrifice and how he was living a life of a tapasvi just like Rama, yet there were people who would blame him. They would look at him and say, because of this Bharata, our Rama had to go to Vanavasa. Because of this Bharata, our Rama had to go to Vanavasa. Like that. So he could not bear that. He did not want to cause pain to those people, that every time when they look at me, they will remember that I am the cause for Rama not being here. Every time they look at me, they will feel bad that Rama is not here. And he also didn't want to get into that situation where he has to take that blame. Already he is bearing that pain, isn't it? And it was becoming more and more difficult for him to listen to those comments and criticisms. So that is why he would wake up. Now, most people get up at sunrise, which may be around 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. But he was waking up at 2 a.m. so that definitely no other people are going to be awake. And at that time, he would go to the Sharayu River, bathe, and come back. So this is why he was bathing at 2 a.m. Second question is, It would have been very cold at that time. Then how was he able to bear that cold? How could he bathe in the cold waters of the Sharayu at 2 a.m.? Here the acharyas say that in separation from Rama, Bharata was burning with that fire of separation, and that fire of separation tormented him at all times. And because of that tapa, even when he went into the cold Sharayu water, he never noticed that it was cold because he was already blazing with that uh, heat of being separated from Rama. That grief, that pain had caused him to feel as if he was in a fire. So, what difference does it make? If he is feeling as if he is already burning, then if he goes into cold water, it is not going to make any, he won't feel cold at all. That is why Bharata was not feeling cold. That is what the Acharyas explain. So, in other words, we have to understand how Bharata, how much love he had for Rama, how much devotion he had for Rama. He was not physically present with Rama, but he was in every way connected with Rama. He did whatever Rama would do. He followed the same lifestyle and he was taking care of the kingdom because for the mere reason that Rama had told him to take care. That bhava of Bharata, we must all remember and appreciate that and try to adopt that level of devotion. Then I said, isn't it, that Lakshmana stops talking about Bharata after some time. Lakshmana stops talking about Bharata after some time. Why is it? Because Acharyas say here that when Lakshmana went on talking about Bharata for so much time, then Rama was feeling so bad. He also suddenly started missing Bharata. And then he was missing him so much that it was as if he was saying, he would have, next thing he would have done is, he would have said, no, no, come, let's go back. I can't bear this separation from Bharata. Let's go back to Ayodhya. What if he had said that? Then who will do Samhara of all the Rakshasas? Isn't it? That is why Lakshmana stopped talking about Bharata after some time because he didn't want Rama to get carried away with that emotion and suddenly decide that we will go back to Ayodhya. So that is why Lakshmana stopped talking about it after some time. Then, when the Shurpanaka came there, we said Rama was so straightforward. There is no need for Rama to explain to her all these things about his life. Who is he? Who are all of them? And all that. But yet, he knows no other way. Because somebody who is honest, that person will always be straightforward. They cannot lie. They cannot tell false things. They don't have this attitude of hiding things. So that straightforwardness is the characteristic of Rama. So somebody who is honest never has anything to hide. And this is something that we must adopt in our life also. We all have noticed how if we have something to hide, then we tell one lie to hide something. Then to protect that lie, we have to tell another lie. And like this, we go on telling one lie after the other. And often we may end up getting confused about what exactly we have told to whom in what situation, and we end up contradicting ourselves. So, if somebody has something to hide, then they are going to not be honest. So, the best thing is never keep anything which you have to hide. Never do something which is wrong so that you have to hide it. Never think wrong thoughts so that you have to hide them. If you are straightforward, if you are honest, then there is never anything to hide. And people who have this straightforward nature, they are the ones who can be peaceful in life. If we are not straightforward, if we are not honest, if we don't have integrity, then what will happen? We will end up always worrying about something or the other, what we have told, what lies we have told, and then there cannot be any peace of mind for such a person. So we must learn to be straightforward like Rama. Now, about this Shurpanaka, her nose was cut off, her ears were cut off. So, what is this? Acharyas explain that why did she have to undergo this punishment? Now, she had this unholy desire. She wanted to enjoy Rama alone. And she wanted to snatch Rama away from Sita and enjoy him physically. Right? So, this is a very unholy desire that she had. It is a wrong desire that she had. And moreover, she wanted to kill Sita. So, somebody who wants to approach the Lord but without Mahalakshmi Devi, such a kind of person will always have this same fate as Shurpanka. That is why we are told in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, we always say that we need to approach the Lord, but always our approach is through the Devi. She will recommend us and he will accept it. So, if we look like that, all the Jivatmas, all these atmas who are in particular bodies, it is said that only the Lord, he is the Purusha, isn't it? He is Purushottama, he is the only Purusha. Everything else is the Prakriti, everything else is the woman element. So he is the only Purusha, he is the only masculine element. We are all, whether we are human body, we have male body, female body, whatever it may be, we are all the feminine component. It's only the Lord who is the Purushottama. So if you say that this Jivatma has to reach that Paramatma, who is the Purushottama, then our journey has to go on. We have to reach him, but we must always go through Devi. And in fact, that is why it is told that whenever we visit any of our Divya Deshams, any of our Narayana temples, then we are told that first we must go and offer our respects to Mahalakshmi Devi, Sri Devi, Bhudevi, whichever Devi is in the temple, we must first take blessings from Devi, and then we must approach the Lord. Many times, the Lord, if He sees only our defects, our mistakes, He may get angry on us. But if the Devi recommends us, then she never looks at our defects. She always thinks of us as only her children, and she will make sure that He also does not see our defects. That is why our approach has to always be through Devi. If we have a wrong desire, if somebody has a wrong desire that they want to enjoy the Lord but without Devi, then they are conditioned, they will meet the same fate as Shurpanakha. So she got this punishment because she had this wrong desire. She did not follow the proper protocol, and her desires were immoral and wrong. So this is what the Acharyas explained to us about this Shurpanakha's episode. So we will stop here for today. Tomorrow we will see what happens next when she goes to Khara and Dushana. So let us offer Kritagnyata, gratitude to the Lord and to Acharya for giving us all this knowledge, and let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunabdhaye Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam Veda Vedanta Vedyaya Meghashyamalamurtaye Pumsam Mohana Rupaya Punyashlokaya Mangalam Pitrabhaktaya Satatam Bhratrabhi Sahasitaya Nandita Lokaya Ramabhadraya Mangalam Srimate Raghuviraya Setu Langita Sindhave जितराक्षसराजाय रणधीराय मङ्गलं मङ्गलाशासनपरैर्मदाचार्यपुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यैः सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलम्. Thank you everybody, and we'll meet again tomorrow. Namaskar.